Will the world die in silence, or will it end in a song? Across myth and fiction, there are figures who embody contradiction, frail in form yet world shattering in destiny. Columbina, Moon Maiden and third of the Fatui Harbingers, is one such being. She isn't merely a character, but the living threshold between life and death, silence and song, ending and rebirth. Columbina appears quiet, almost fragile. But her song, while also fragile, feels foreboding, calamitous. And it may itself be one of the most dangerous secrets in all of Teyvat. What if her gentle melody isn't a lullaby, but a requiem? Among the 11 harbingers, Columbina is ranked number 3, directly below the group's director and captain, and yet, unlike her brutal peers, she stands serene, peaceful, quiet. One would think, without an abrasive outward show of power, she'd rank lower among her comrades. But what if she doesn't need brute strength because her song is her weapon? A melody tied not to charm or peace, but to dreams, sorrow, and death. For as long as humans have engaged in myth-making, song has been tied to death and dreams. The sirens, famous for the role they play in Greek mythology, lured sailors to their doom with enchanting voices. The Fates, 3 sister goddesses who controlled the lifespan of every mortal, were said to sing or chant the destinies of those mortals, forever guiding them toward death. Philosophers such as Aesop, Plato, and Aristotle made popular the idea of swan songs. A swan stays silent throughout its life and only erupts into a beautiful melody just before life's end. In Celtic tradition, women sang highly emotional, passionate funeral laments, or keens, meant to guide souls to the afterlife. Columbina's song, a lullaby about a dove finding sleep so that she may dream of the moon, fits perfectly into this timeless archetype of beauty woven with mortality. We've reached Nod Cry. Columbina is finally revealing her power. Could her talents, her attack, skill, burst, passives, use songs as their main mechanic? Applying hydro through waves of sound, ensnaring mobs in a lullaby, cresting waves emerging from her burst, a crescendo of hydropower to flood the battlefield. Her song could be used for good or for nothing at all. If it is what she says it is, an innocent children's melody. But there's just something a little bit off about Columbina that leads me to believe she's hardly innocent, or that whatever power residing within her is hardly innocent. She has blatantly told us that the end is nigh, that she's running out of time. So, what if that song of hers is a swan song for all of Teyvat? And Columbina isn't the first character in fiction to wear a mask of innocence while carrying the weight of death. Take Seele from Honkai Impact 3rd. On the surface, Seele is quiet and fragile, but her alternate side, Veliona, embodies ruthlessness and destruction. The part of her that shoulders despair when she cannot. This mirrors Columbina's gentle facade, concealing something far more dangerous, as we see when the flowers erupt into a sea of red upon mentioning the Fatui. Or, look at Sailor Saturn from Sailor Moon. Tomoe Hotaru is a frail, kind-hearted girl. Yet as her alternate persona, Sailor Saturn, she becomes the soldier of destruction, wielding the power to end entire worlds as her weapon, the Silence Glaive, is destined to end hers. Like Colombina, she is fragile and pure in appearance, but her other self is inseparably bound to death and rebirth. All three, Seele, Saturn, and Colombina, embody the archetype of the death-bound maiden. Characters whose innocence makes their destructive power even more chilling. Seele, once the Hersher of death, now the Hersher of rebirth, bears her other self, Veliona. Tomoe Hotaru is the fragile girl who hides Sailor Saturn, the soldier of silence. A power within her so great that one swing of her silence glaive and 8 billion voices are silenced. And Colombina, serving both as the damselet and the moon maiden, sings with innocence while concealing a power so terrifying even her peers kept their distance. The duality seen from each of them recalls the goddess Hel, Norse god of the underworld and ruler of the dead, half beautiful and half decayed. A reminder that innocence and annihilation are not opposites, but twins. It leads me to wonder if the damselet and the moon maiden aren't two different people entirely. Two identities trapped within a frail and failing body. Colombina's mannerisms, her patterns of speech. It's a little erratic, don't you think? She's coherent and even friendly at times. At others, she's aloof and off-putting. One could chalk that up to not feeling well, but I think there's more to it than that. The death-bound maiden embodies endings, sure, but never without beginnings. Sailor Saturn's glaive brings silence so absolute it becomes erasure. She is feared as a destroyer, yet she also clears the stage for renewal. Seele's shadow self rises like an echo from the abyss. Seele, whose very name means soul, forever walks the edge of loss and survival. Colombina weaves her being into melody, a siren's hymn that mourns and guides. Colombina's flower, the columbine, is tied to both mourning and resurrection. Like Persephone descending to the underworld and rising each spring, they remind us. Death isn't an end, it's a transformation. To bear such power is to walk alone. Seele is isolated by her shadow. Hotaru is whispered about as a curse. Colombina, even among the harbingers, stands apart, her song unsettling, her presence a quiet distance. Like Hecate, goddess of thresholds, they exist at the edge, revered, feared, but rarely embraced. Lonely as their presence may be, it is never accidental. They are like the Moirai, the Fates, figures who do not cause destiny but signal it. Their arrival is an omen. The world is about to change. Seele marks turning tides. Sailor Saturn awakens at the end of ages, and Colombina, her song yet unsung, waits as a portent of Tevat's unraveling. And here's what that means for Colombina's story. Seele came to terms with, even came to love her other side. Sailor Saturn expelled her other side and died, and was thus reborn whole. The Colombina we see is ailing, fading, hanging on in quiet desperation. Do we truly see a new moon before us? Or a moon whose life has already come to pass? She ticks all the other Maiden of Death boxes, so when will we see her other side emerge? When it's time for her to truly sing? Music as a weapon is no new concept to the developers over at HoYoverse. They incorporate music into their games whenever they can. A prediction. Columbina will sing her swan song, and because of that song she will die, only to be reborn, revived, refreshed, and whole, as a new moon goddess, purged of her impurities. The new moon will rise, and so will a new Columbina. Columbina's song might not be music in a traditional sense, but rather a powerful hymn aimed at the true rulers of Teyvat, a song of mourning for a dying world. A world that very song will lull into eternal sleep if we're not careful. She's holding something within her. Someone. She's trying to contain it. Her Hersher, her silence glaive, whatever the world-ending equivalent it is for Columbina. But she can only keep her other self at bay for so long, and she's running out of time. Columbina's silence so far isn't weakness. It's waiting. Waiting for the moment when her voice becomes the loudest sound in all of Teyvat. Seele, Sailor Saturn, and Columbina are more than coincidences of design. They are incarnations of a timeless figure, the fragile harbinger, the death-bound maiden. The girl who bears both the end and the beginning. And, hopefully, Columbina will have her new beginning. Columbina isn't a villain, no. But she isn't a savior either. She is a threshold. Through her, we glimpse the eternal cycle of life, death, and the dawn that follows.